know, they're saying Nelson Agholor is primed to have a huge year, but people are also raving about JJ Arcega-Whiteside. They're saying this kid is right on the heels of Nelson Agholor. Could it be possible that he challenges Nelson Agholor in the slot? Could the Eagles trade Nelson Agholor?
Kick the red, double move on the red.
You're my no Grizzly 500's here, and I'm sorry I was just laughing at my wife because she's funny, man. She's funny, you know. You gotta love the wives, you know what I mean? Like, all right, I'm growing this thing out, right? Yeah, it's grizzly and all that kind of stuff, and she don't like it. She don't like the beard. She don't mind a good tea, but she don't like the beard. So for the second time, she just came back from the store and she just brought me these. Now, why would you bring me these unless you're trying to tell me to shave this? That's what she's trying to do. This is her way of hinting. She already just bought me a pack of these like a week and a half ago. So now she brings me more. You think she's not laying down a hint? We're going to see how much longer I can last with this thing because I think it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? Well, I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm still sick, still recovering. Throat still hurts, but I'm managing. It's not as bad as it was Sunday, you know what I mean? And one of the things that's really helping me get over the sickness is the Philadelphia Eagles. Because I'm so excited about this season, I just can't help it. I can't contain my excitement. And yes, you know, this can set you up for a big fall when things don't go your way. But that's the nature of sports. That's me. You know, that's what I do. I love. When I buy into a team, when I buy into something they're doing, I buy into it. When I don't, I don't. And I'm sold on what the Eagles have done this offseason, you know. And I was reading an interesting article from Bucks County Courier online. I'll post the link in the description. And they were basically talking about whether or not the Eagles should trade Nelson Agholor because JJ Arcega-Whiteside has been so impressive that he should challenge Nelson for that slot position, and maybe the Eagles should trade Nelson, save that $9 million, and then use it to help pay for Carson Wentz's extension. Now, it's a very interesting theory. It's an interesting idea. I've seen this online on YouTube. I think Joey Shakes did a video on it. Shout out to him. Philly Jim, shout out to him. Subscribe to Joey Shakes. Subscribe to Philly Jim. They're great guys, and I'll put their link in the description. But they did videos on this before. I really hadn't done much on it. But after reading this article, I did want to comment on it because I thought it was very interesting. JJ Arcega-Whiteside, to me, I don't know how I missed this guy leading up to the draft. I looked at a lot of wide receivers and all these things. I just completely overlooked this guy. 6'3", 221 pounds. And a lot of people think he reminds them of Alshon Jeffrey. He doesn't remind me of Alshon Jeffrey a lot. A little bit, you know, the way he goes up and get a ball. He reminds me more of Mike Evans. That's who, I think he's a spitting image of Mike Evans. Now, Mike Evans may be a little faster than him, but he is definitely a step faster than Alshon Jeffrey. And I think that Arcega-Whiteside has the potential to be a number one wide receiver in this league. And I think he could be an eventual replacement for Alshon Jeffrey down the road. I am so impressed with everything I've seen of this kid. And I think he is going to make an immediate impact in the NFL this year. Now, one of the ways that they're probably going to use him early is in the red zone. You stick him in there in the red zone, he could go up and get a ball. I think he's a great weapon. The Eagles are also going to use a lot of tight ends down in the red zone. 2 tight ends with Goddard and Ertz. They just got so many weapons, especially in the red zone. It's ridiculous. But I really like JJ Arcega-Whiteside, and he could challenge Nelson Agholor for snaps in the slot position. Now, here's the thing. Agholor is in the last year of his contract. He is making $9 million. He is ready to have a big year. This is a big year for him. If he has a huge year, he gets a huge contract. Even if it's not with the Eagles. Even though he says he wants to stay with the Eagles. I don't know how practical that will be. If he goes out and has a killer year, I don't know how the Eagles are going to re-sign him when they got to re-sign so many other people. So, would the Eagles trade Nelson Agholor in preseason, let's say? Because I've been on this whole preseason trades thing, because that's really the window where I see the Eagles making the next big move. They've done it in the past, and the thing about Agholor is a couple years ago he was so good in OTAs and in spring that he really took a huge lead over Jordan Matthews. And the Eagles wind up trading Jordan Matthews as a slot receiver. He traded for Darby, and they put Agholor there. So one of the things that I'm really excited about going into this season is the combination of Nelson Agholor and Deshaun Jackson on the field at the same time. This is a tremendous threat to defenses. It has to be. When you get Deshaun Jackson on the outside with his speed, his ability to go deep, you know it's going to keep the safeties back. It's going to keep the defensive backs back. This opens up everything in the middle. We've talked about this 1,000 times, okay? And when you take Nelson Agholor and he's your slot receiver with Deshaun on the outside, and Nelson is very fast himself. He's a guy that can catch the ball and take it to the house. He's that fast. He's that elusive. When you have the space to operate in a slot that Nelson Agholor is going to have this year with Deshaun Jackson on the field, I expect you to see a lot of passes where you may see a 20-yard pass right over the middle. Agholor gets it and breaks it all away because he's going to have so much space to operate, and he is lethal in space. That's the one good thing about Agholor. Now he's really one-dimensional in that he's only a slot receiver. He's not an outside wide receiver. JJ Arcega-Whiteside probably can play. Well, he can play all the positions as a wide receiver, and you'll see it in the red zone, because I think you'll see formations and stuff where they have Alshon Jeffrey on the field, Goddard, Ertz, and then Arcega-Whiteside on the other end of the wide receiver, in the red zone and things like that. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they use Arcega-Whiteside. But when you have Nelson Agholor in a slot and you have Deshaun Jackson, I mean, you're going to just have guys that can break it at any time. In conclusion, for me, I say you don't move Nelson Agholor right now. You don't try to trade him. You don't move him. You let him go into the season. I think if you do decide to trade Nelson Agholor, if it comes to a point where you can trade him, do it around the trade deadline. Do it after JJ Arcega-Whiteside has shown he's taken snaps from Nelson Agholor, has shown that he needs to play more. Then you can do it. Then it would make sense. But I think what we're going to see is that the abilities of Nelson Agholor and Deshaun Jackson on the field together are going to create a lot of tremendous plays for the Eagles. I think you're going to see a lot of 50-yard touchdowns, 40-yard touchdowns, 30-yard touchdowns. You're going to see 20-yard passes turn into 50-yard runs, because the space that is created by Deshaun Jackson, and then with Nelson Agholor and his ability out there, I think that those guys are going to be lethal and scare a lot of defenses. And I would not trade Nelson Agholor right now or in preseason. I would give those guys a chance to play together. If they do decide to do it at the trade deadline. That's when we do it. And I don't mean any slight to JJ Arcega-Whiteside. He is going to play a lot. He is a stud. But I think that having that extra weapon, that extra speed of a Nelson Agholor on the slot, I think you got to keep it. You got to go into the season with it and then see how it goes from there. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is the Eagles are bringing Jonathan Cyprien for a visit. The safety was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars in the second round. I think it was 2013. He was hurt last year playing for Tennessee towards ACL. And, this may have to do with Malcolm Jenkins. A lot of people speculate it does. I'm not going to get concerned about the Malcolm Jenkins things until he misses mandatory minicamp. Then we'll talk more about it. I hope that he can work out a deal with the Eagles, and we'll get into that later. One thing that does frustrate me when I hear the Eagles are bringing in Jonathan Cyprien and all these other safeties is I think Jim Schwartz makes a few mistakes. I don't think he blitzes enough, and I think he's missing out on Rasul Douglas at safety. I do. When you hear a guy, 6'1", 209 pounds, he's a ball hawk. He's a playmaker. He has instinct for the ball. He is a hard hitter. He can tackle. These are the qualities of a good safety. A safety. Now, he only runs a 4.5. Rasul Douglas on the outside as a corner will always struggle with speed wide receivers. One way to neutralize that and to use his talent best is to put him at safety. And the Eagles need to do this. I don't understand what they're doing. Now, last year, the Eagles said, we will never put him at safety. Turns out, week 6, he played safety against the New York Giants. 42 snaps, played great. He played a few other times. Now, some of the See, some of the problem with Rasul Douglas is that because he's a backup defensive back, the Eagles don't use him. They don't use him enough. He sits on the bench, and you're wasting his talent levels. Rasul Douglas, up until that Giant game where he played safety and had 42 snaps, he only had 9 snaps. So first 6 weeks, he had 9 total snaps. You're not using him enough there. Use him as safety. I think he will be a starting safety, replace McLeod within 1 year. Within 1 year, he's a starting safety. He could be an elite safety, and you can get him on the field. Rasul Douglas is too talented to me to not be on the field. And he can play corner. Look, he could be a good corner in this league. I think he could be a good corner in this league, and he could be an all-star safety. But if you have him as a backup corner, and he's just sitting on the bench getting 9 snaps in 6 weeks, it's just not enough for me. It's not enough. Move him to safety. You don't need to bring in Jonathan Cyprien and all those kind of things. You got the safety in Rasul Douglas. That's my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? With that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.